So many people want their bodies to show up for them, but they don't show up for their bodies. We want our body to do all of these things, and it's not even getting the proper material, the proper input to do just the day-to-day things beyond that. So we're borrowing against what we think we're going to feel like tomorrow. And we do this all the time. I'll just, get extra sleep tomorrow. I'm just going to push through and burn the candle at both ends today. You're expecting the weekend to be your rest. Many times we are sacrificing that sleep and pulling from that budget of reserves and of energy when we have no reserves. And we're telling our bodies to do things that, you haven't even slept. No, I just need you to think about that for a moment. You literally haven't even slept. You haven't had a restful sleep, but you're still going to the gym. Ask me how I know. You are listening to episode 107 of the Style and Stewardship podcast. If you're new here, my name is Sharisi. You can call me Cher, and I am a Christ follower, a wife, a mom, and a certified holistic nutritionist. On this podcast, I like to get into all the areas that impact our lives and how we manage them. And it's definitely not about managing anything perfectly, but we're really using God's grace in all the areas that He's given us and to steward, to manage. So I believe that the one who made us cares about how we manage everything that He's placed in our care. So in this episode, we're going to get into something that a lot of people don't talk about and something that I think really deserves discussion. I hope that it's impactful for you. Maybe it's challenging for you, but more than anything, I hope that it's encouraging. Let's hop into the episode. So as a holistic nutritionist that looks at the entire body and looks at the entire lifestyle and looks at things like stress and sleep and all of the things that are connected, because holistically everything is connected. Your body is one. It's one with a billion different parts, right? Maybe not a billion, but if we count the trillions of bacteria and stuff, we're talking about trillions of parts, right? Or trillions of things that are going on in the body. Holistically, when we look at it from that angle, we know that what we're doing on a daily basis to our body, with our body, is going to have an impact on what's happening in our body, in the system as a whole, and the symptoms and the things that we are experiencing, which are the body's signs that something is out of balance, something's out of place, something's not working efficiently or working at all. So nutrition, that's something we're doing every single day, right? We're taking in some sort of food, which is some sort of input to our bodies and to our cells, telling it to carry out some sort of function. So nutritionally, if we're not meeting the minimum of the things that the body needs, can it even perform, right? Can it even do a good job? Waking up in the morning to go to work, if you have not gotten restful sleep, you know how you perform at work. You feel foggy brained. You feel like the things that are rote that you do all the time, that you do on a consistent basis, you can kind of carry those things out, but you feel like a zombie. You feel like you're half asleep and you're not really putting in any more effort than what's needed. The body does the same thing. It's going to do the things that are most important, right? You went to work to earn the paycheck, to pay the bills, to carry on the whole ecosystem of your life. Your body's the same way. It's like, how can we carry on all the other functions that we need to do? We need to blink. We need to swallow. We need to breathe. We need to, I don't know, all the things that the body needs to do. It's hot outside. We need to sweat to bring our body temperature back down so we don't overheat. All the things that the body does. We would be on this pod forever if I just talked about that. So all of the things that your body just needs to do, just automatically, your autonomic nervous system is taking care of that. It's you're breathing and you're not thinking about it. Your brain is working and you're not thinking about it. Maybe not efficiently, but it's working. It's still carrying on the functions that the body carries on without any thought to doing those actions. The body is going to do that, right? However, all of the extra things, all the things that the body doesn't necessarily have to do in order to keep you alive, it's not going to do it well. It's not going to do it efficiently, and it's certainly not going to take priority. So this can look like things like the way that your skin looks, the way that your hair looks. Maybe it's falling out. Maybe it's dry and brittle. That's a protein growing out from your body. Your body's like, we don't really. That's not top priority. We don't have to worry about the hair right now. We don't have to worry about insert any other small thing that the body does that we may be physically noticing. That is just not a priority as far as keeping you alive. So when we're approaching our wellness, when we're approaching, uh, and then we'll put demands on our bodies that are already not getting what they need to do just the basic things. Beyond that, it's like having a budget, right? You don't have extra money. The body doesn't have extra money, extra effort, extra time to put into these other things that you may want to do, which is come up with great ideas or, get to a place of feeling rested and not just dogged out and tired, get into a place of exhaustion. The body is not really concerned with those side things. It's concerned with the main things. But the more you can support your body and give it what it needs to do those basic things, now we have a surplus. Now we have more in the body's budget to do all these other things, to have healthy hair, to have, you know what I mean? I'm using that as an example because it's the first thing that popped into my mind. But those are things that are not going to take priority if the body's not even able to get what it needs to do its basic things. And what causes it to not get all those things? Sometimes it's things that are just going on in life and extra stress, which burns through more minerals and B vitamins, which is why we have to consistently take those things in through our food. But other things like um, how the gut is working, what it's getting. If your body is not doing things like detoxing, then the things that are impacting your body in a negative way are sticking around. So now the body has to work extra hard to get things out. So let's use something as simple as number 2, going to the restroom. If that's something that you're not doing every day, guess what? That's something that the body needs to do. Can you go on, like, could you go to work and still, get your job done? For the most part, you can do the things that don't require a lot of extra energy or effort. But the body is constantly taking things in and trying to remove things. What if you can't do that effectively? What if you can't do that normally? Then we run into other problems of dysfunction and imbalance in the body because it can't get rid of things that are waste products. Our body gets rid of waste in several different ways. Our skin, using the restroom, both 1 and 2. It gets rid of things through tears. So the body is constantly trying to remove things. Even we breathing out carbon dioxide. The body is constantly taking things in and pushing things out to keep it in balance, to keep it in homeostasis, and to keep it working well and properly. But we're putting extra demands on our body like, oh, I also, not only do I want to not be dealing with histamine intolerance, or do I not want to be dealing with blood sugar issues and spikes and crashes, but I also want to go to the gym today and do an hour of cardio. What? That's pretend I was just your body saying, "Are you serious? You want me to do all of this stuff, but you want me to do all of that too?" And we talk about stress a lot, but we don't always talk about the stress that we're causing to our body. We like to talk about stress as this thing that's outside of us, but many of the things that we're doing that are stressful, we're doing because we're really not cognizant, or we're not focused on we're more focused on what we want to get out of our body and what we want our body to do than what we're doing for our bodies. And it's like, if you didn't get rest last night, you didn't sleep well. Or maybe a light workout is better than 1 hour of HIIT training or cardio, or even weight training. That's really, really going to require a lot out of you. So we're constantly taking from this budget, borrowing from, the month to come. Like, I'll just pay for that next month. I'll just pay for that next month. Well, the body is also, keeping a budget, and you're, you're imbalanced in your budget. Your budget is not balanced. And we don't look at it like that many times. Many times we're like, oh, I'll just keep pushing through. Oh, if any, I've recently, not recently, at the very top of this year in January, I was diagnosed with Bell's palsy, which was a misdiagnosis, which I actually am still dealing with, recovering from Ramsay-Hunt syndrome. This has been something, I am not just talking to you, I'm talking to me too, because this is something that I personally have lived through and that I'm still currently healing from and walking through. And one of those things is I am not needlessly going to push my body because I've told myself that I'm going to do something and it's on the to-do list. If my body is not feeling great that day, I'm not going to keep pushing and pushing and pushing. And so many people want their bodies to show up for them, but they don't show up for their bodies. We want our body to do all of these things, and it's not even getting the proper material, the proper input to do just the day-to-day things beyond that. So we're borrowing against what we think we're going to feel like tomorrow. And we do this all the time. We'll do this in the form of, I'll just, get extra sleep tomorrow. I'm just going to push through and burn the candle at both ends today. Hopefully, or you're expecting the weekend to be your rest. And though God set it up for us to have a day of Sabbath rest that he created for us, and it's super important that we take that Sabbath rest, especially, setting apart a day that's sanctified and holy to the Lord. But we're talking about just the day-to-day night sleep, the day-to-day night rest that we should be getting. But many times we are sacrificing that sleep and pulling from that budget of reserves and of energy when we have no reserves. And we're telling our bodies to do things that, you haven't even slept. Like, no, I just need you to think about that for a moment. You literally haven't even slept. You haven't had a restful sleep, but you're still going to the gym. Ask me how I know. I talk to my husband about this all the time because he loves to work out and he goes hard in the gym. And I'm like, well, babe, you got 3 hours of sleep last night. Probably not a good idea. At some point, I just stopped talking and I'm just like, I'm going to let him, And then the next day you wake up and you wonder why, even though you got 7 hours of sleep, you don't feel rested. Wonder why. Because you borrowed from the day before. You borrowed from the day before. Of course you don't feel rested. Of course you don't feel like you can, do all the things and then some. But this is how we treat our bodies. As Christians, we talk about the temple being even when we talk about the temple of our bodies, being the temple of the Holy Spirit, we still just focus on those physical things. We're still not focused on what the actual temple needs. It needs upkeep. We have to clean the windows. We have to, bring good things in and keep bad things out. We need to keep the vermin out, the vermin of sugar, the vermin of, taking on too many things that we can't possibly do. And we actually have to have a time of shutting the lights off, right? We have to rest. And we talk about the temple as though it's something that is only an outside factor, where it's like when people are like, oh, I'm taking care of my temple when you're going to the gym. Yeah, but did you get sleep last night? Did you eat food that's great for you? Or are you trying to force a physical outcome because you feel like you should look a certain way? So these are things where it's like, speaking of stress and speaking of rest and all of those things and helping the body to do what God created it to do, are you even doing the bare minimum? Are you even giving your body rest? But you want to go to the gym. Are you even giving your body rest and sleep, but you wake up and you have coffee all day? And then you stay up until 2 o'clock in the morning and you wonder why you feel tired. And then you go to the doctor and you get a sleeping pill, which has its own side effects and has its own nutrient and mineral depletions just baked into it. So I feel really passionate about this because holistically speaking, and from a Christian standpoint and the stewardship standpoint, are you stewarding your temple? Are you stewarding your body? Or are you just trying to get an outcome that you want? And for many people, It's the latter. You're just trying to get an outcome that you want. Don't get me wrong. I have done this too. I have burned the candle at both ends because I so desperately wanted to get something done or feel like I'm getting ahead. And sufficient is the day its own trouble, right? I butchered that. But sufficient is today with its own trouble. I'm paraphrasing. God tells us to cast our concerns and our anxieties. It says cast them, which is like to throw off. But no. We want to pick stuff up. We want to keep holding on to stuff. And then we wonder why we're stressed. We wonder why our cortisol is off. We wonder why we can't get through the day without caffeine. Well, you haven't done the bare minimum, which is sleep, which is rest. And don't get me wrong, I have a child that still busts into the room sometimes and wrecks our sleep and did not sleep through the night until he was like 6. And don't get me wrong, I understand what it's like when you have no control over how much sleep you're getting. But for those of you who do and don't, is that something you're taking responsibility for? Or are you mad at your body for not performing in a way that you feel like it should, even though you haven't given it what it needs? So I don't feel like a lot of people talk about this. We need rest. We need rest so we can spiritually connect to God. We need rest so that we can physically allow the body to have a time where it's not constantly going and doing, because the body's already always doing something because of your nervous system that keeps your heart beating and your blood pumping and your breath in, your inhalation and exhale, like your inspiration and you know what I'm talking about. Your body's already doing all those things. And now you want it to do all these extra things, but you haven't given it what it needs. I hope you're getting my point. I hope that you are just really thinking about and considering your rest and considering maybe your lack of rest. And this is something that it can't be, we can't pretend that this isn't a need that the body has, because it is going to show up somewhere in your life, whether it's the ability and the capacity that you have to do the things that God has called you to do, or the things that just the day calls for. Especially if you're a mother, you know what I'm talking about. It's constant interruptions, constant things, constant stopping and going and doing and multitasking. They say don't multitask, but this is what we women do. This is how we get down. Like, this is how we get things done. We can do things like pay bills and homeschool, and at the same time we can pick up the phone and take a quick chat with a friend that might be going through something that we might need to pray with. We know what it looks like to multitask. We know what it looks like to have all these things that vie for our attention and our time, yet so few of us are giving our bodies the bare minimum. So few of us. And this is something that in our world, as it gets louder, as it gets busier, as it gets noisier, as it gets more connected with things like online and all of the things and all these extra things that aren't necessary, that vie for our time and our attention, have we given our time and our attention to the things that truly need it, require it? Are we feeding into the very system, the very temple that God has given us? And are we stewarding that? Or is it something that we're taking for granted and we're just borrowing from? These are some things that I think are really important to think about, especially when it comes to our health and our wellness. Holistically speaking, all of these things are connected. And just like there are many parts of the body of Christ, it's the same thing with us, right? There's a certain part that God has called us to in this grand scheme of life. And the way that we show up matters, obviously, but it's not just showing up for showing up's sake. It's how are we showing up? What capacity do we have? Because the extra that you have, now we can pour out. Now we can pour out, and that's a whole nother topic for a whole nother day. But I think that it's really important that we do talk about that and we do have conversations about that, because those conversations are not being had. Are you resting? Are you stewarding? And are you doing it intentionally? Because your life matters. What you do with it matters. So what will you steward about? If this was helpful, impactful, encouraging, or just challenging, and you feel like, hey, I need to have this conversation with someone in my life, I think that it is such a great place to start with just having a conversation. The next time you see a friend, the next time you talk to another mom, the next time you talk to whomever, ask them, not necessarily how are you doing, but ask them, have you taken time for intentional rest? Have you taken time for your body to actually slow down? Such a great question to ask other people. If you have someone that holds you accountable, I have an accountability person, and we ask each other certain questions to keep each other just real and transparent. And it's so important that you have that. I hope that you have that in your life, and I hope that you have those friendships that are pouring into you, and that you're allowing God to pour into you as well. Until next time.